Alright everyone, Collecting Crusader here with another comic book review. This is one of my first issue reviews, basically a segment where I take the first issue of a new title and I read through it and I give you guys my opinion, let you know if it's worth a pickup or not, if I feel like it's worth a pickup. This is all my opinion, so keep that in mind. I've been a pretty big avid comic reader for a long time. I haven't really read a whole lot of new stuff lately. I'm starting to get more into the newer stuff now, but I've traditionally always been a back issue guy, like a collector of back issues and old Silver Age, Bronze Age stuff. But yeah. Anyway, enough of my background. Let's get into the background of The Realm. The Realm is it's a pretty new, well, obviously it's a new book, first issue. It's a new title by Image. It's one of their many like standalone titles. It's probably creator base. How do you say that? Just by looking at the cover is really cool. This is a variant. I think there's like 2 or 3 different covers. The other cover that my store had was, I think it was like the A cover. It didn't really intrigue me that much. It was just a guy standing. It was just a guy standing over I was like a guy standing with his shadow, with his silhouette. It wasn't that cool to me. This cover, on the other hand, has a lot more detail to it, and I thought it was a lot cooler. Like, just look at all the detail on this cover. I mean, the guy, like the beer, like the beer cans all laying around the dead ogres. The axe in the ogre's chest. You got the plastic wrapper thing that comes from the 6-pack. You got this very detailed, like shotgun axe looking thing, which I swear they stole from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Yeah, somebody's been watching that show. But let's go ahead and get to the book. I usually rate these books based on like 4 different categories: characters and character development, art, story, and dialogue. So let's just go ahead and get into let's get into art first. The art's fine, like it's perfectly fine. Like, it's not it's kind of got a gritty kind of look to it because of the subject matter. It's kind of reminds me a little bit of Walking Dead, but not too much. As you can see, like, the characters are pretty clean looking. The environments look fine. I don't really have too much issue with this art. I mean, this is fine. Art's very subjective, but I don't have no problem with this. This is perfectly fine. I like it. There are a lot of books these days that have kind of like they try to go for too grimy, too dirty looking, and I hate that. But this book has a nice medium between being clean enough where it looks good, but also kind of having the dark colors and the savagery of what a book like this should have. Like, look at this, look at some of this detail. Like, I mean, like the violence, it definitely shines in the action department of this artist. But going back to see, second of all, let's go over story. Story is probably going to be one of the weaker parts in this issue because there just isn't a lot of it. You don't really get a lot of insight into what's going on. The writers or creative team pretty much just throw you in the middle of a world, and you have no idea what this world's about. And I'm sure you're going to find out over the course of the next couple of issues. But it would have been nice to have a little bit of setup in this issue to tell us exactly what's going on. Pretty much the only story you really get, and I'm not even, pretty much the only story you get is that it's just like in the near future, but not too far. And it's a post-apocalyptic setting where, like, apparently somehow a bunch of ogres and mythical monsters from like fantasy are out attacking the people. The only thing we actually see are ogres, but the one of the characters does mention drakes, so I'm sure there's like dragons probably flying around or something. I'm not sure exactly what the extent of what's out there is in this world, but we know there's definitely like ogres running around, and we know there's like definitely like magic of some sort. So yeah, it's like a mashup of fantasy and like post-apocalyptic nuclear like Fallout type stuff, mixed together, which is a very intriguing mashup. And I think that's the main thing that's going to draw you to this book, is just the theme and setting of it. Because honestly, the story wasn't like super original or super intriguing. It's it's post-apocalyptic. It's about a guy who's I'll get into that in the character section. But yeah, the story it's pretty basic, and it doesn't really get too far into itself in this issue. So yeah, it's kind of hard to judge it by story because it really doesn't give you a whole lot of information. It throws you right in the middle, like I said, and it doesn't really hold your hand. So Yeah. Yeah. So and now let's get to characters. There's really only one character I feel like. Well, there's like two characters we're probably going to see more of. You got okay, three. My bad. You got the villain, who we don't really even get a name for him. We just see that he like gets possessed by even some ancient entity, and you know he's doing a sacrifice, and he's just kind of whatever. And you don't really learn much about him at all. You got this other character. I think his name is Marcus, who's like the guy who sends our main character on his missions. And we'll probably see more of him later on, but he's not gonna. I'm pretty sure he's not gonna be a character that's in every issue. But he was kind of cool. And then you got the main character Noah, who is basically kind of like a guide. He hires himself out to like bring people back and forth, or just go rescue people, or just to he's basically a freelancer. And he's really you immediately get the idea that he's really badass, and that he knows what he's doing, and that he has like this rugged past. And if you've actually read the book, you know that there's some more to him than meets the eye, which we don't really find out much about, but we do get like a little tease at the end of what I mean by that. So yeah, his character was pretty cool. But yeah, other than that, there's really not much. Like, they are setting up more characters. Like, we get introduced to some other characters, but we don't really know anything about them yet. So yeah, this is definitely a first issue. Like, a lot of times first issues try to jam a bunch of information into it, so that you can set the world up. But this book really does not give you a whole lot of stuff to set the world up with, not right away. And I'm not sure if that's a good or bad thing. The last thing I want to touch up on is dialogue. I felt like the dialogue was also a pretty weak part of the book. Just because like a lot of it felt generic and like too wordy, I guess, or too like ambitious. Like there's two parts in particular that I thought were just I kind of was cringing when I was reading, and one of them was whenever it's towards the beginning, this king is like talking about, it's just basically talking about how awesome he is and stuff, and he just feels like it just feels generic. And then there's another scene where the bad guy is like sacrificing somebody, and there's this like evil entity that's basically giving this like classic bad guy speech about how you know, feast on my bones and all. It's just all this like really generic like evil guy like threats, and they feel kind of empty because we don't even know what the enemy is. Other than that, the dialogue was fine. It was mostly just a lot of exposition. There was a little bit of comedy thrown in, you know, in a few parts. Not much, but there was a little bit. The tone of the book definitely feels like it's going for a more serious tone with like a small amount of comedy sprinkled every now and then. But it looks like for the most part it's going to be kind of one of those depressing, dark, you know, post-apocalyptic stories. You know, where there's just a glimmer of light. So overall, I did like the book, but it's really too early to tell. Like, a lot of times you can read the first issue and get more of an idea of where the book's going. This is not a book like that. This book does not give you... I don't know where this book is going from the first issue. You'll definitely have to read a few of them to figure out the direction. But so far, based on this first issue alone, I feel like it's worth a read. It's definitely an intriguing premise. And, yeah, I guess you owe it to yourself to figure out where this is going. So check it out, guys. As always, like, comment, subscribe.